It all started because I had dinner with Paul Tibbets, who was the pilot of the Enola Gay, the airplane that dropped the atom bomb on Hiroshima. Okay, so I'll read a few. The first one I'm going to read is actually one of the more difficult poems it was for me to write because it's a poem about heroism. Heroism, of course, is something that's hard to write about because it's been exhausted, it's been inflated, it's been ruined by Hollywood. And yet, so many of these oral histories had extraordinary stories of heroism and self-sacrifice, and the emotion that these tough old veterans had about it was quite extraordinary. Nearly brought me to tears many times. This is called Grace Under Pressure. The only thing you really need to know about it, it's set in, there's an American GI speaking about his experience in the invasion of Iwo Jima, one of the most difficult island wars island battles in the war. And Japanese hand grenades are shaped like something you can mash a potato with, so they were called potato mashers. Grace Under Pressure. When the potato masher hand grenade flew in the hollow, Mark, the quiet boy, looked at me with such sorrow. Then he lay down on the thing. He knew his death would buy our lives, and so he spent it all, just tossed his future in the pot like a big spender in Vegas. Damn him. Who can pay that loss off? I can't. Neither borrower nor lender. That's what my pop taught me. For what he gave, with ragdoll arms spread wide when the bomb blew him off the earth, I kissed his dirty face, closed his dead eyes. I knew I had to live my life a cleaner way, the way he flew into the sky before he fell, with grace. This next one, of course, is in some ways a companion poem, because not everybody behaved well during the war. This is based upon an episode in Stud Terkel's The Good War, about these guys from Kentucky who spent their time knocking gold teeth out of the dead people's mouths and gathering artifacts and so on. It's called Seeds of Gold. Nip is an epithet, kind of a racist epithet for Japanese, and that was used by American GIs at the time. It comes from Nippon, which is the Japanese word for Japan. Seeds of gold. They called me harvester because each field of dead nips gave a crop of souvenirs for me to gather. Good stuff, if you steeled yourself to reap it. Still, I cried real tears when Sergeant Bill took sniper shot right through the eye, but why should I die too? I'd fake an injury or disappear into the cave until the fighting stopped, then take the little metal hammer that I kept inside my pack and knock the fillings out of molars and bicuspids. You should see the bag of teeth I bagged. It wasn't theft. The dead don't shop. I say, when asked about my wealth, I got my start in dentistry. One of the war crimes that happened in World War II that's less known is what we call the comfort women, the kidnapping and sexual slavery of more than 200,000 women across Asia forced into prostitution to serve the Japanese army. They were beaten horrifically, they were starved, they were raped day and night. And in the end, only about 25% of them survived, which is to say more than 150,000 women died in this particular form of rape and genocide. So the speaker here is an old Korean woman, and the poem is called The Factory. I was 13 when soldiers kidnapped me. I crouched down in the truck, silent and trembling. One man said, "You're off to a factory," then laughed. I thought I'd work on an assembly line and made peace with it. What a cruel trick. It was a factory where women made sex with their bodies. They'd line up to stick me like they'd stick a bayonet steel blade into a prisoner, while men banged at the door, too frantic to wait their turns. And that is why I swelled like a balloon with pus and bled so much I lost my uterus. Look at me, old, still sick. I have no one. I live alone, and I will die alone. It's a dark poem. The next one is even darker. One of the things that happened, it's actually kind of, in many ways for me, one of the most interesting poems because it deals with something that's quite taboo, which is cannibalism. And it's easy, I suppose, for us here, me reading and you in the audience, to think it's something we would never do. But imagine this, you're in an army, and your supply lines are cut, you've essentially been abandoned, you're outgunned, you're in retreat, and there's no food. There has been no food for weeks and weeks and weeks. You are starving to death. You are outgunned, you have no ammunition. But all around you, there's meat. Human meat, dead people on the battlefield. You have a choice. You can kill yourself. You can starve, probably die, or you can eat. What do you do? And the hard thing, I think, about writing this book is to have sympathy for people who commit horrific crimes and understand why it is. You know, how I could, as a professor in 21st century Los Angeles, find myself doing the same thing. This is called white pig, dark pig. The term came from the terms that the Japanese soldiers used to talk about the people they were eating. White pigs were Western soldiers, dark pigs were those people they captured and ate from New Guinea. The speaker is a Japanese soldier. I didn't rape the women, didn't lust for their dark flesh, not like you think. I dreamed of food, not sex. A man does what he must to live. I ate dark breasts and brains. It seemed normal, almost. I met some soldiers near the camp. They carried a cooked human arm from a white pig, that is, a prisoner from the West, and they were lucky, with a farm full of endless white pigs to roast up. But we had to track down the dark ones hiding, and we starved. At last, we drew lots, and the one who lost, we'd eat. The loser tried to flee. He'd been my friend. I shot him with my gun, then wept.